The Vanatoo transparent ones were one of the first speakers anyone ever sent me to review. Vanatoo sent them to me. And that was before I was even doing video reviews. I had no idea what I was doing. I have hours of footage that never made it anywhere. I ended up just throwing up an excerpt of me and my cousin arguing about them. But now that I'm established and have all of you guys watching, I convinced them to send me another pair. In fact, I convinced me to send them another 3 pairs because I've got a big near-field surround sound review coming up, and I wanted to use these. And if a company will send you $1,500 in speakers and you can make your dreams come true, then my God, do it. I'm going to do a full unboxing of these. And I don't do unboxings, you know that from my channel, but I'm going to do it here for these because they're special. You're going to pick this box up, by the way, and you're going to go, God damn it, who filled it with bricks? I don't order bricks. I'll get to the cubic inch per ounce of awesome in a second. Let's go through the top bin. Quickstart guide. There should be a power cable in here, which I don't have in there because it's plugged in the other room and I'll have to go get it. That'll be an interesting part of the review. We've got a auxiliary cable, which is 3.5 to 3.5. We've got a 3.5 to RCA. This is again for the power cable. Instead of little feet that you could stick onto the speaker, they come with these big sheets of like drawer liner foam. That's brilliant. So you're not hearing anything, and because it fits, by the way, this is a pair of the cherry ones, and it'll never slide anywhere, ever. It comes with a manual, and it comes with this huge speaker wire with soldered ends. And this is to connect the powered side to the unpowered side. And I very rarely, whenever I review, I have 3 pair of these, so I didn't undo this because I have like endless pre-made speaker cables and they'll accept bananas, so I'm going to leave that in its little case there, right there now. And you guys are going to read the owner's manual. I think they allow a link download. Here's the Quickstart guide. You got an active speaker, a passive speaker, an AC power cable, whoops, in the other room, 3.5 to 3.5, 3.5 to RCA, and speaker wire. That's what's in this box. What it doesn't come with is a standard large size USB, which is probably what most of you are going to hook it up with anyway, so I'm sure you have one of those from an old printer. And it doesn't come with a SPDIF optical either. But connect speaker wire to active speaker, located in the red and black terminals. You can actually select which one is left and right. So if you want to put the active speaker there, that's fine. And you wire them together. Let me get into that. Let me forget this explaining of what I'm doing. We know what that is. We want to get to the guts. Guts of the situation. This might be a team lift. Here. That is not your box. That box has to go back. The shits she gives is less than 0 from my request. Right. Now I've repacked the black ones. I had them obviously all unpacked. How did that tape restick? Oh, because I did that. It comes in 2 finishes. Textured black or smooth cherry. And when I did the review 2 years ago, I think it was a while ago, I got the cherry and I didn't know what the black was like. Now that I've seen the black, I'm still going to recommend the cherry. Oh my God, they're just so heavy. Yeah. Now, they look like black speaker boxes. They look like Radio Shack speaker. Like, I'm just like, side of the road. Oh. It's not until you really sit down, start taking a close look at these, that you realize that something is not normal. So you pull off the grill, and the grill is nothing special. It says Vanatoo on it. It's plastic. And you look at the drivers. That's an aluminum cone. That's an awfully big tweeter up there with this nice little guard on it to keep you from poking your finger into it. Then you turn it around. Oh my God. Things and stuff. Exciting things and exciting. Can you see that I'm like struggling to move it, by the way? I may pull this into my bathroom and weigh them. They're the heaviest speakers for size ever. Like you look at a speaker and go, that looks like going to be pretty heavy. It's not. This is heavy. This is officially the heaviest. And it's not just because it's the weighted one or the powered one. The passive one here, equally as ridiculous. Like impossible to be this heavy unless they doubled the walls up. So let's look at the active one. Passive one's pretty simple. Can you get that? Good. No port. Instead, it uses this passive radiator. Now, if you don't know what a passive radiator is, when you have a port on a speaker, the driver moves and the port allows air in an equal amount to move with it. So it's on a delay. So the speaker goes in and out, and the air goes in and out at the same time. It's all got to be tuned. And what the good thing about it is it extends low end. But the bad thing about that is sometimes you could hear the port chuffing. I'm looking at you, 530s, although that has calmed down greatly. And it also, it opens the box up for little bugs to crawl inside, dust, and all sorts of bad things. There's bad things that happen with ported drivers. That's not the word, you live with it. But this system is basically just take the speaker that's on the front, remove the magnet and voice coil, and then stick it on the back and make this weigh precisely the amount that it needs to reverberate from the other side. So no port noise. And this is basically like giving it two speakers. One that fires backwards and one that fires forwards. We've got, it's all crammed in here. I'll go from the left. Analog in, which is a 3.5. Digital coaxial in, which is a coaxial. A bass knob that clicks at the top, a treble knob that clicks at the top, a large USB in, the volume control here, a subwoofer out, an optical in, the left and right switch where you can choose which side this is on. So if you have a powered monitor there, you click right and that's the right and that's the left. If you have the powered monitor there, you click that the other way and it reverses. We've got the full-size 5-way bindings out to the other speaker. We've got the AC input. We've got an AC output to plug whatever the hell you want into it in, and then we have the power switch. That is a lot of stuff. That is, if I go get my JBL LSR 305, it's like you have power and volume and some tweaking, and that's it. What makes these, or more specifically the cherry ones, which I think look better, the choice of the day, is when you look at a powered monitor, if you work on Wall Street, and everyone hates people that work on Wall Street, so we're not going to use that as an example for long. But if you work in Silicon Valley and you want to have speakers on your desk and you want to look like a professional, like you don't want to have JBL or bright yellow KRKs, you buy these. These are the status speaker. And not just because they cost a bunch, and they do cost about $500 a pair. Let me dig out my JBLs during the middle of this review. Ugh. You don't want, unless you're doing audio editing, this is not a sexy speaker to have on your desk. All right? You know it's good. I know it's good. We all know it's good. But no one's going to appreciate that. A woman wouldn't appreciate it. A CFO of another company wouldn't appreciate it. This has actual style. And considering that these cost per pair twice as much as these, well, a little less than twice as much, but way more than this, what the hell are you getting for your money? So let's go over that. What am I getting for my money? So the JBL is just a pretty big thing. Power, volume, balanced input. Analog, one per side. The Vanatoo is everything you need. You don't need a DAC. You don't need a preamp. You need nothing. You plug it in USB, which I'm going to do live in a bit after I get the power cord out of the other room. You plug it in USB, you wire it to the other speaker, and you plug in power, and you go. These measure as some of the flattest speakers available. Like, okay, JBL's reference monitor for mixing and mastering on. Vanatoo, the people who run Vanatoo have talked to me and said people are mixing music on these professionally, at a professional level in their studios and their home studios. They're using these because they go down to 45 hertz, which every other speaker here that I've ever had here, none of them have gone down as far as these do. None. Zero. Because of this, because of the DSP correction that's built into the amplifier. These do things that are worth more than normal speakers. Now I'm going to pause the video for a second so I can gather the crap that I'm missing, and we'll come back and I'll turn these on. I just came out of my bathroom. The powered side of one of these, it's 5 1/4 inch speaker that is, that big. It weighs 12 pounds. That's a bowling ball. It's a kid's bowling ball, but it's a bowling ball. Now here you can see the finish differences. This, I don't like the black. Black is definitely, you could see there's wood. You can see it's really made of wood, which, God bless, most things look like plastic. But that cherry, the finish on that cherry, I don't know why I'm touching it. I'm going to have to clean these for 3 hours before I send them back. Well, got the power cord here. It's a standard power cord. It actually kind of looks like the one from my Dreamcast. Unless this is the one from my Dreamcast, because I may have misplaced one. I don't know. We'll figure that out later. This is all hypothetical now anyway. I'm going to plug this in. And I had them plugged in USB when I first got them set up, so it may just recognize. But if it doesn't, we're going to go through the steps of everything. Actually, if it recognizes, it won't be recognized from the front. Maybe when we recognize it all. Oh, there it is. SPDIF interface, Vanatoo. Maybe it was there. Properties. So obviously I would rename it if it was that. You get to choose between 32 kilohertz, 44.1, 48, and 96. Oh, the analog input here and the digital input here, there's no DAC built into this. So if I said that earlier and I don't recall, I lied. This doesn't take digital to analog for the amplifier. The amplifier internal is digital. It's a digital amplifier. And it takes a digital signal and it leaves it digital, and then it just becomes amplified. It's a tough nut to explain. I'll probably link to an article of how that works. But if you go USB to this, or fiber optic, or coaxial digital, this does not convert to analog at any point. If you go to analog in, it has an analog to digital converter, which is the opposite of what everyone pretty much has. SPDIF, 2-channel, 16-bit. Let's take it to 24-bit because we're nuts. Actually, we're taking it to 24-bit for this particular reason. No one wants to reach back and use the volume knob behind a speaker. I never want to reach back there. The higher you have the bit rate set, the better sound quality will be when you lower the volume on your computer. When you use the massive volume keys on your keyboard, or you lower foobar's volume, it doesn't. In other words, the only way for a digital signal to drop the volume, unless it can physically control the amplifier, is to cut the bit depth. So if you start at 16, it'll go down to 15, 14, 13 bit as you're lowering the volume. If you start at 24, it'll go to 18, 17, 16 bit, which is CD quality still. So you always want to have the highest bit rate possible if you're controlling the volume digitally. So there it is. It's on. It's working. It's ready to rock and roll. Let me plug in the other wire. I'm not going to use the wire that's provided because it's ridiculously long, and I made these and they look awesome. So we'll go with that. Come here. 12-pound monsters. This would be a good opportunity to look at a couple little foam stands for desktop speakers. All right. We're plugged in. I can feel the volume knob. Now, this is not all ponies, rainbows, and unicorns, these speakers. Now, I've been using them now for over a month. I know every in and every out of them, and I can tell you what's right and what's wrong, and I'm going to tell you because I'm Zeus and I don't ever mess around with a review. I found, after my weeks of testing, that when you use a digital input, USB, coaxial digital, or SPDIF, the volume knob gets really finicky after about 3/4. And what I mean by finicky, bring the music player over here. What I mean by finicky is distortion at the top. So if I crank this and then I put on, let me find something that's not going to get me pulled off of YouTube because God forbid. David Roth, no. Maybe? Wow. All right, let's put Dead Mouse on. Guaranteed to offend. Oh, wait. I haven't changed the output. All right. Before we get to the distortion, let's go to the probably the most annoying thing about these speakers. We're going to get to the sound. The sound demo's coming and they sound amazing. Did I tell you that? Did they sound amazing? But we're not here to talk about that yet. We're here to talk about the bullshit that you're like, oh God. And on these speakers, for a PC setup, where occasionally there's long bursts of no one talking or no sound, these will sleep. They'll go to sleep. Most speakers will go to sleep. Most things go to sleep. These just take about 3.5 seconds to wake up, and that is so annoying. So I'm going to set the output now to Wasapi out, SPDIF Vanatoo, 24-bit. As soon as I hit apply, it should wake up these speakers. And go. That wasn't bad. So obviously it's been awake. If I leave these alone for 10, 15 minutes, I can never actually get the timing down, how long it takes. And then I put on a YouTube video. I'll be looking at the YouTube video and they'll be talking. And then the speakers will wake up. And it's like, oh God, please be awake longer than that. They should be an hour before they sleep, not whatever the 10 minutes it is. And then the wake-up time is still slightly long. I can live with a wake-up time that's slightly long if they take an hour to shut off. But these love to shut off whenever, they're like super green. They want to be super green. So now I've got my foobar playing at 100%. I've got Dead Mouse playing. In fact, I'm going to set him to default because if there was ever a speaker intended purpose just to play Dead Mouse, this is it. Because the low end on these is retarded. Retarded in a good way. Retarded in the best way possible. Now, unlike JBL there, where they have very finite adjustments of treble trim and bass trim, and you could just gently... These have monster adjustments. You can go bass to nothingness and treble to insane kill you mode. Now, we have this on the right, so I'm going to switch this, make sure that's on the right speaker. And I'm going to raise the volume. That's at full. Dead Mouse is playing, so it's fully up. And we're going to see at what point I can no longer sit in front of this. It's very little gain now. Almost at half. All right, they're starting to play now. Now they're actually starting to look like, okay, that's music. We're at half volume now. It's like, it's gently wafting. Now we're going to go past half. And now we're at 5/8. And now we're nearly at 3/4. Oh God. And now we're going past 3/4 and I've got to start screaming. Alright, and that's where the distortion happens, which is near the top. So, the volume knob, and this was the same case 2 years ago when I borrowed a set of these, from 0 to half is like, might as well be off to now it's on. And then from half to full is an exponential ramp of insanity. So let me lower the digital output to 0, and I'll put this to maximum. And I can tell you in decibels, because foobar can support that. My keyboard. This is why I can't get in, what's it called, docks key. I just throw my keyboard like on the litter box and everything. It's great. Let's go up. Gonna go up fast. 60 decibels, 40. All right, 20 decibels down from maximum. All right, a little more. All right, Anything above -8, I start to hear discrepancies in the sound. So, basically, what I recommend is never putting that to maximum. What I've been told is that the reason these get so loud and start to distort is because of that subwoofer out. Now I've got the Martin Logan Dynamo 300 sitting here on either one of my JBL stacks, and that is a subwoofer that Vanatoo recommends you use with these speakers, because that's another thing that JBL just doesn't. No powered speaker does that. No powered speaker has a sub out. So this does have a sub out. But now we're at to the buts. But when you plug that sub out into these speakers, they lose a little bit of that magic, which is the incredible low end. And you're left with mid-range and highs, and everything 120 hertz and below gets sent to the sub. Why such a high cutoff? And that's because the whole point of that sub out is to gain volume. Once you plug that in, the subwoofer is now responsible for everything that would make this distorted high volume. All that crazy bouncing around. Let me do this again. Yeah, that's stupid, by the way. All that gets transferred out, responsible somewhere else, and that is the little, even though it's a cheap sub, that's the one that they still say sounds the best with it. And I've hooked it up. The only my problem with 120 hertz is it's slightly higher than you'd ever want a subwoofer to start playing, especially for music, because it starts to be locatable. If I put that sub on with this sub out, you're going to hear some of the sounds coming from there. But these will then be able to use that volume to maximum. That distortion of it trying to throw the drivers as far as it can, that's only from low end, and that'll just go away. So, should you get these and you're like, you know, I really want them just to have a little bit more in the volume department, there's two options, and I'm going to give you those two options now. The first one is get a subwoofer and have it offload all the low end frequencies to a subwoofer. And the second option, and this is going to sound weird, and I only figured this out within the last few weeks, the analog input, which goes from analog to digital for the amplification, seems to handle high volumes better than the digital inputs. Now, how do I know that? Well, that's because when I go to do my near field surround sound, where I pull this table out and have all the stands around this chair, and I put the monitor in the middle, and then I watch Dread with these. My surround sound receiver here, the Tascam, has full analog outputs for every channel. Left, right, surround left, right, back, left, right, subwoofer, everything's analog output. So I have, just drop that, I have labeled, pushed in right here, analog inputs that go to these speakers. Actually, give me a second. Are my reviews fun? People want me to get a tripod. What good would that be? Now I've got those unplugged. These have been off. I'm going to flip those on. And now, if I switch to that, let me lower that a bit. Now my receiver there will feed that pair of Vanatoos. So just move this pair that I just plugged in out of the way. Or into the way, actually. What are you still doing here? Boom. Boom. So now, I'm going to hit this button, and since I just turned it on, it's not going to be asleep. But, one. Alright, that's officially playing louder without distortion than it was when I plugged in USB. Oh, I also have the bass knob. Since I'm so far from that wall, I'm like a good two feet from that wall, I have the bass turned all the way up. And that means it's just, you could not tell I don't have a subwoofer on in here right now. It'd be impossible. Close your eyes. What am I playing? Is there a subwoofer? Yes. Which is why another reason when I use a sub out, you know, that low end that these can do, because of that passive radiator in the back, because of the magnet on these drivers is literally the size of the driver. It barely fits into the hole. because of how crazy ass these speakers are, I think you shouldn't add a sub to them. If you just want more bass, then just too bad. You fail. You fail at needing things. Professional griefers. So, one of the main benefits that I discussed was, okay, you don't need to buy a DAC anymore. You just plug a USB into this and you're done. And if you're playing at nominal volumes in an office, that's absolutely fine and still true. But if you want to push it a little farther, you may want to consider using the analog inputs. Because I have no idea why it happens, all right? I don't know why it seems that they have better volume handling. I could actually do a switch and just literally switch between the internal DAC and the that's DAC, and then back to analog to digital and compare the volumes. But it just feels like I have less restriction on the analogs. But either way, these speakers are the best kind of stupid. I don't know if I would do a room with them, like this size room, like right here where they are is great. And if I'm cooking and I have these playing, it's fine. But they're not for room filling. You're not gonna have a party and turn your Vanatoos up. Not the kind of parties I go to, at least. Maybe you have cocktail parties and these will play some fine ass jazz, like just forever. I'm gonna get off of that. We'll put some in Fuego on. I just saw you. There you go. These will play this to the end of days. Here's one for you. Gaming with these. Gaming. These are insane. Now, these are a heavy price for a gamer. $500 a pair, and if you want them in that finish and not this finish, they're $550 a pair. But frankly, if you've got the money, that is so much nicer than this. That is so much nicer. Like I said, those JBLs are the best speakers I've ever heard in a desk. These are the close second, followed by the JBLs, the 530s. Those are the 530s. Those are the 305s. I wish they'd pick other numbers, JBL. Low end, insanity, and then those tweeters. And since you could adjust, since you have such a large swath of adjustment on the trebles and the bass, you can get it just right for your desk and just right for your room. Far away from that wall, turn the bass up. If the speakers are really close to me and those tweeters are going to start to hurt, turn the treble down. You can adjust them to like them. If you don't like them, you can probably fix it. Now, oh God, they're so heavy and sticky. I don't even know how long this review is. It's 11 o'clock at night. I'm just I could ramble forever about these speakers. I've had them for so long. What I'm gonna have is there's gonna be a couple videos concerning them. This one, obviously the first one where I just go over their cons, their pros, their weight, their amazing low end. Put it back on this pair now. Output. Vanatoo. Back to Fuego. Yeah, no. Let's put the bass all the way up. How about that? Yeah, these passive radiators are insane. More speakers should have them, and they don't because they don't want to do the math, and these cost more. There's cost in these builds. They're not just $500 for fun. To have this amount of stuff, and then these, and then 12-pound a piece speakers costs the monies. And if you want them, they're going to cost you the monies. So, when we get to the rest of the parts of this review, I will go over in detail different things about them. Like I can keep talking for like 3 hours. I know more about these speakers than I want to know, except for why they sound better on the analog input. That's a mystery that I leave up to engineers that I will never meet. So, who's buying these? Let me wrap. I have to wrap up. I don't even know. I could fly out the window right now and just keep swirling around. If you don't want to look like a tool with KRKs on your desk, if you want to look like you actually have taste, you grab the cherry finished version of these Vanatoo T1s. You place them on some nice speaker stands somewhere in your office, and you just play gentle music out of it. They're not kickin' rad killer speakers. Only when you have them on the analog input, and only when you, or if you use a subwoofer output, is that the case. And when I'm doing the sound review of these, I will have one of those Martin Logans hooked up to show you the difference. But right now, the way they're set up currently, they're just overall quality and level of all right. These are at the bottom of my powered monitors lists as like this is the end result goal, and they're gonna remain there as long as you can get past the fact that they take forever to wake up, and they're heavy doesn't mean anything. Forever to wake up is my biggest pet peeve, and the distortion you could deal with. And if you move to analog, you need a DAC. But if you don't move to analog, you've got multiple options. I gotta stop this video. I gotta get to the next part of this. It's gonna kill